Hi everyone, Dan here. I've been a storm chaser for 32 years. I started in July of 1993, shooting lightning with a 35mm film camera. 10 years later, in 2003, I took that hobby pro when TV production companies found my website and started contacting me looking for storm footage. You know what those production companies were making? Documentaries. That's right, documentaries are what started my professional storm chasing career. Specifically, documentaries made by Discovery, National Geographic, the History Channel, and many others, all who paid to license storm footage from me for those productions. I started shooting for a TV news agency as a freelance cameraman that same year, and those two income sources supported my storm chasing career for many years. That brings us to today. Something very strange and shocking has happened, at least to me and most photographers who rely on income from licensing and online ad views. A belief has taken hold in the online world that anything, pictures, videos, scripts, music, movies, TV shows, artwork, you name it, can be used in pretty much anything under fair use. That means those works are used without permission from or payment to the photographers, musicians, artists, or whoever created them. There are a lot of YouTube channels producing documentaries now, many of which are really well done by obviously talented editors. Some of these channels have grown into successful multi-million-dollar operations, with each video getting viewership that rivals or even exceeds traditional television. And most are doing it without paying a dime to the photographers who shot the footage and pictures that they use, believing it all to be covered by fair use. Photographers who rely on the income from their valuable work being used by for-profit outlets are of course not okay with all of this, but when they do anything to try to fight it, the users of the footage play the victim to their huge fan bases, resulting in online mobs swarming the photographer. So not only does the oftentimes struggling photographer lose out on a huge part of how they pay rent and buy groceries, they're smeared as the bad guys for doing anything to fight back against it. Here's the main issue. Fair use isn't what most people understand it to be. I'll prove it to you with this little exercise. Without Googling it, name one of the 4 factors of fair use in the law. I won't ask you to name all 4, just one. The 4 factors are the main part of fair use law. They're what courts use to decide individual cases. They're what photographers and lawyers use when deciding if a takedown or a legal case is worth pursuing. So, were you able to name one of the 4 factors? If not, don't feel bad. You're probably not alone. Most people don't have a reason to know this stuff, but a YouTuber or content creator who is basing their entire operation and income on fair use really should. And those joining in with the online mobs against photographers and storm chasers probably should know it too. So here it is. The part of federal law that addresses fair use is 17 U.S. Code, Section 107. Let's take a quick look at it here. There's not a whole lot to it. A 2-sentence paragraph, the 4 factors, and then a closing sentence. The only part most people are familiar with is the first sentence of the law, where it talks about comment, criticism, news reporting, teaching, or scholarship. But keep reading. Those are the categories of use that might be, not will be, fair use. Everything still has to pass the 4 factors test. Think about this for a minute. The main programming on TV news networks is to comment on footage from cameramen like me. So that's comment and news reporting. That's 2 of the categories in the first sentence of the law. So that has to be fair use, right? No way. And it never has been. News outlets always pay cameramen like me for my work. And many of these are multi-billion-dollar corporations with the most powerful legal teams on the planet. If it was really fair use for them to take footage and pictures from photographers for free, they absolutely would. And they would mercilessly crush any lowly photographer that dared issue a legal challenge. So why isn't commentary and news reporting fair use in these and similar contexts? It all comes down to the 4 factors test. The 4 factors are really important, and I could spend a long time talking about them, but I wanted to quickly go through them and show how they routinely apply in real-world cases involving storm chaser and news camera footage. Factor 1 is the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for non-profit educational purposes. The relevant part of this factor for storm chasers and news footage is commercial versus non-commercial use. If the video is earning money, it likely fails this part of the test, and commercial use is a broad category. That includes anything that can result in financial gain, either directly or indirectly. That means a non-monetized social media account can still be ruled commercial because large followings have commercial value and can be monetized at any time. Factor 2 is the nature of the copyrighted work. This is the only factor that weighs in favor of the use of storm and news footage, because that footage is of non-fictional, real-world events versus fictional works. You should know, however, that this factor has been given less weight in court decisions than the other three. Factor 3 is the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. A couple of big points on this one. Courts weigh not only how much of a copyrighted video is used, but whether the best part of it is used, or what is called the heart of the work. That means there is no minimum time limit here. A half-second clip of a lightning strike can fail this factor of the test if that half-second is the best part of the video. The other issue here is that a lot of people have a big misconception of what amounts of video are a little or a lot. In the production business, video is licensed on a per-second basis. Most of my paid licenses are for 10 seconds or less of footage. When you get past a minute or two of footage, you're usually in the 5-figure license range for a valuable video. You can ask anyone in the professional production business and they'll back me up on this. Finally, factor 4 is the effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. As I said, documentaries and news broadcasts have been a huge part of how I put food on my table. If it was suddenly fair use for all of those news outlets and documentaries to use storm and news footage for free, all of my work becomes worthless. On the internet, a documentary or reaction using a large amount of another video or the best part of that video on a larger channel or account than the originals can replace the original video in featured slots, recommended slots, and search rankings. This has happened to my channel many times over the years. The original photographer loses not only the license fee, but the long-term revenue from diverted viewers as well. Exposure never helps a video owner. It always harms them by diverting viewers. This is one example. A 6 million subscriber channel got 2.2 million views on one of my videos, while my original only got a couple thousand views and a handful of new subscribers as a result. Now, you'll often hear that fair use is subjective, every case is different, and you can never really know if something passes the test until a lawsuit is filed and a judge rules on it. That's partially true. While borderline cases can go either way, the practical reality is that many uses strongly fail the test, and a small-time creator can pursue those cases without many obstacles. So, those are the 4 factors of fair use. In the professional world, it's not just the editor that gets paid for a production. Everyone who contributes to its success gets their fair share, including the owners of the videos, photos, and music that are used. That's because those valuable video and photos don't just appear out of thin air. My storm chasing operation costs me $20,000 to $30,000 a year, and the videos I capture are financial assets that pay for those operating costs and my living expenses. Is it fair for me to cover all of that cost, take all of the risk, and do all of the work in these dangerous conditions, then have huge corporations and multi-millionaire YouTubers take all the financial value of that content and not pay me a dime? Fair use is supposed to be fair. That's the name of the law, after all. But this everything is fair use way it's being misused and abused in the online world is anything but fair. And this is about more than just fairness. It's simple economics. Without revenue from licensed use, photographers have no way to continue operating. Gas pumps, camera shops, grocery stores, and landlords don't accept exposure and credits as payment methods. So, how do all of the TV productions deal with this? It's simple. They clear the rights to everything they use from third parties. That means they either buy a license or get permission in writing from the owners of any copyrighted works that they're using. Some things might be too expensive or difficult to clear. In that case, they either find a substitute or they make it themselves. Many production companies have something called a rights and clearances team that does only this work. Fair use just doesn't come into play in this type of production work at all. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. Clearing rights is a lot of work and cost, but it's always been a part of the job in this field. All of the content on my channel, like music, 3D models, and graphics, is either licensed or something I made myself. If you choose to skip rights and clearances, it's going to open you up to battles more expensive than licensing after all is said and done. And when those battles happen, it's not because of evil copyright trolls. It's the law that gives the owners of valuable content the legal right to challenge you if what they think you're doing is not fair use per the 4 factors test. Even those mega corporations with powerful lawyers know this. Take that free legal hint from attorneys you and I could never afford. One of the best resources on fair use is the U.S. Copyright Office's Fair Use Index. It's usually the first or second result when doing a search for fair use. This site goes into more detail on the law and even has a database of actual court decisions you can read and see how the 4 factors were used to decide each case. I have a lot more to say about copyright infringement, as it's the biggest threat my channel and storm chasing operation is facing right now. I have a lot more about it on my website if you're interested. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.